IVM.
People with good credit score, Cred has some rewards for you. A credit card payment platform, the Cred app basically rewards you for paying your bills on time. If you have a credit score of 750 or above and have a credit card, download the Cred app to make your credit card payment experience rewarding. You will get reminders, statement analysis to know about hidden charges, and even get credit coins every time you pay your bill. You can use these coins to avail jackpots and cashbacks on the app, and even get discounts on their hand-picked curation of electronics, food and beverages, luxury travel, and many more offers. Folks, welcome to Paisa Vaisa, brought to you by Cred, the most rewarding credit card bill payments app. I'm your host Anupam Gupta, B50 on Twitter, and my guest today, big one, Siddharth Mehta, MD and CEO, Freecharge. We're going to catch up with what's been happening at Freecharge all these years and what's ahead. But before that, let's take a short Cred convenience break, and we'll be right back on the other side.
$100. That's all it takes to begin your journey with Bitcoin and Ethereum. No, really. With CoinSwitch, you can start investing in over 100 cryptocurrencies with just 100 rupees. On top of that, there are zero charges for deposits and withdrawals, so you can trade, buy, sell, however and whenever you want. All of this, plus their extremely intuitive interface, makes CoinSwitch the perfect app for beginners in the crypto space. But don't take my word for it. Just download CoinSwitch for free and try it out for yourself. If you'd like more information on cryptocurrencies, tune into a show about crypto with me, Rohan Joshi, my new adventure on IVM podcasts. CoinSwitch, kuch to badlega.
Siddharth, welcome to Paisa Vaisa. Thank you so much for doing this for our listeners. I've always wanted to have Freecharge on our show, so it's good to have you here.
Thank you, Anupam. Thank you for having me there. This is my first podcast, so please bear with me this one. But great to come here and talk about what is happening with Freecharge, what we've been doing over the period of time, and how do we see our future in this space. And thanks for inviting me and giving us this chance.
Yeah, really excited to talk about that. Freecharge was one of the oldest startups, I think, back in 2013, if not earlier?
2010.
Whoa,
started.
Wow,
We just celebrated 10 years last year. So
amazing. And then, Paisa Vaisa started in May 2017. Our podcast started in May 2017. I think that's round about the time when Freecharge got acquired by Axis Bank around then. So, we've done 300 episodes from 2017 to 2021. Tell us what Freecharge's been up to since then.
Okay, thanks, Anupam. So yeah, you're right. So just sort of Freecharge is gone through 1.0, 2.0, and now we are in 3.0 of Freecharge. So Freecharge, as you know, started as a recharges platform, coupon-based recharges platform, evolved into a wallet business when Snapdeal bought it. And now when Axis Bank has bought it, Axis Bank bought it in October 17. You're right, exactly almost closer to when Paisa Vaisa started. So we're sort of, in that sense, we are growing up again together. So just to give you a background of what has happened post the Axis Bank purchases, the first year, Anupam, was largely around rebuilding the organization, stabilizing it, because obviously Freecharge had gone through its ups and downs over the period, and also some regulatory and compliance implementations that we had to do with this Axis Bank purchase, because it's a bank and now we're a 100% subsidiary of the bank. But as we were doing it, what we saw is the payments space just exploded. With UPI coming in, there was rapid growth and it became hyper competitive. It just sort of exploded. And when we saw that, what we realized is that in the long term, we need to evolve. And the way we will have to evolve to generate value is actually invest in becoming a financial services platform. So what we did, the first year was obviously just the rebuilding stage. Then we started sort of working with Axis Bank to rebuild ourselves as a financial services platform. We reorganized. So we reorganized ourselves completely. And what we did, two parts. So we split the organization into two parts. One part continued to focus on optimizing our payments business. Payments had become hyper competitive, so we had to optimize it. The other part started investing in building the financial services platform in partnership with Axis. Yes, it has taken us some time to build these capabilities and to build the platform. We've added a lot of products over the period of time. But this year is the core year for Freecharge because you will see us launching a lot of products. So it's the cusp of Freecharge 3.0 now evolving into a financial services platform where payments will be there, but it will be part of financial services to that extent. So that's how we have sort of spent our last 4 years. Over the last, just to give you an example, over the last 2 years, we've tested a lot of financial services platform. We have mutual funds, digital gold, credit cards, FD, and two-wheeler loans, home loans, personal loans. So we've done a whole gamut of it. And just to sort of add to it, just recently we launched the first product of our reinvention or rebuilding, which is the buy now pay later. We launched it in April. It's just 3 months. Obviously, in the first phase, we launched buy now pay later. The core theme was that today, as the digital ecosystem is evolving rapidly at a very rapid pace, payments is evolving. You need to provide customers seamless payment experiences. And what buy now pay later does is gives you seamless with backed by credit. And it is suitable for small ticket transactions, which is what Freecharge is. Recharges, bill payments are small ticket transactions. And I mean, we will cover.
Go to
later.
each, and because other than talking about the specific products itself, I also want your view on the industry landscape, right? Because it's not very often that I get 11-year-old company that was really started on, back then, has a very interesting overview and very interesting product profile of the financial landscape. Okay, so there are two things that stood out to me in whatever you said so far, and I want to start from there when we talk about the products. Okay, fixed deposits. You actually said the word fixed deposit. Honestly, today's millennials don't care about fixed deposits. In fact, a lot of the narrative in social media today wants you to stay away from fixed deposits. Why did you, no one really focuses on this segment? I find it interesting. To me, it's of course a very useful product, but मैं तो भाई कोई और ही ज़माने का हूँ. Tell us about that, Siddharth. Why fixed deposits? Why do you think it's important?
So I go to the background, Anupam, sorry again. When we decided to repivot, we said we would provide all financial services solutions on the platform. And see, Freecharge today attracts, because of its payments business, different kinds of customers who have different needs across the board. And you have people who are sort of risk averse to people who are open to taking a lot of risk and, sort of doing that. What we realized is that because you have all sets of people, you need to have all kinds of products. So that's why there's a mutual fund. Again, if you look at gold, while it's not a very, very risky product, but there is still a risk because it's market linked. And then you have FDs, which is purely not market linked, fixed maturity, you know what you're going to get, and there is no risk. It's also that. So we thought that, there is this segment of customers, and today we do fixed deposits, small numbers, obviously, as of now. But if you look at the industry, and in the last 1 year, the fixed deposits have really grown in the banking industry. So it's not as if that people are averse to it. It's a great way to save money. Yeah, it is counterintuitive because it doesn't fit with your inflation logic, and post-tax, it doesn't get you that much money. But what banks have done with fixed deposits is they've just sort of upped the value-added feature. So a lot of people, I don't know if you get ODs against fixed deposits. So you have a fixed deposit. So in emergencies, like what happened in COVID, if you need emergency funds, you don't need to break your mutual funds. You don't need to break your fixed deposit. You can just draw down money and actually cover for your emergencies.
Yeah,
I think that's a big utility that fixed deposits have sort of brought. Banks have sort of upgraded the fixed deposit proposition, and the interest rates are nominal if you take a OD against fixed deposit. So it sort of works in all ways. That's the thought process we had, saying that let's give this as a product, and our belief is it should be part of your product basket or your investment basket, even if it's a small part, because it gives you a fixed value. You know what you're going to get at the end of the period, and it also has this utility of, if you are interested, of being able to take a OD and drawing down.
Yeah. And it's liquid. I mean, it's like you just press a button and your money it just hits your bank account. I get what you're saying. Please go on.
Yeah. So that's the reason why we sort of looked at fixed deposit, and after we did mutual funds and golds, we said fixed deposits is the first product. Even as we expand, Anupam, you will be surprised, we will also be launching a recurring deposit product. Because we still think there is a need. The advantage of a recurring deposit over a fixed deposit is it's like SIP. You can do starting at 500 rupees a month. So you can start saving small in the long term. So that's our thought process.
Okay. Lovely. Let's get to the engine, right? The main original business, the original payments business of Freecharge. Tell us what's been, how's that been doing? I read an interview where you said that the merchant side of payments, okay, leave alone the customer side, the merchant side is growing at some 20% month over month. So tell us both sides of that original payments business. Customer side, what's happening? Merchant side, what's happening?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Anupam. So I'll start with the customer side. So the customer side, as I said earlier, almost 2.5-3 years back, we said that, the way this space is evolving is getting hyper competitive. You need to focus on optimizing this business. Obviously, there is a lot of investment that goes on the consumer side of the business. So we sort of largely focused on optimizing, and our core thought process was let's get into engagement. Instead of the vertical growth, let's look at horizontal growth, which is getting customers to do more transactions on the platform instead of getting more customers to do transactions, because of the fact is that there is a lot of cash investment that goes in the vertical growth. So that's been our focus. If you look at Freecharge over the last 3 years, from 2 transactions per user per month, we are now almost closer to 3 transactions per user per month. So we sort of expanded that space. We've added a lot of new categories so that customers can look at other ways to invest. We've there has been a lot of also change in the ecosystem on payments. With BBPS, now there is a lot of payments which have come online, which were not there earlier. So that's what is the consumer side. And the merchant side, which is the interesting part, and which you brought out, saying the 20% growth month on month. So merchant, we actually started investing almost 1.5 or 2 years, just 6 odd months before COVID, with the UPI QR and so on and so forth. And then COVID happened, obviously unexpected. So we launched a remote payment solution, which is a payment link, a dynamic QR. You can send QRs, you can do all that. Interestingly, that has actually shown a significant growth, and the 20% growth that we talk about is largely coming from that space. We are largely focusing on the SMB space in the merchant business, the small and medium enterprises on the payment side, whereas parallelly also we are now providing solutions to the sort of the medium and large businesses. So we started with SMB, we continue to focus there, but we are also now providing solutions to medium and large businesses and or new age businesses like the startups that are coming up who need sort of payment solutions to that extent. And that is sort of fueling our growth on the payment side.
Yeah. So last question before I go into a break here, Siddharth. Where do you see this going? In payments, I think it's still hyper competitive maybe, and it's evolving with so much of stuff happening on the technology side, on the regulation side. So where do you see this business going at an industry level, as well as what do you find exciting at Freecharge?
So if you look at payments, Anupam, I think there is tremendous scope in a country like India. So today, if I look at payments, my assumption is around 150, 200 million people at max would be doing digital payments. With the population that we have, I think this can easily double without much. So I think payments is going to grow in India. It's going to grow. The solutions required will be changed from as you go from tier 2 to tier 3 or 4. Your requirement in terms of products and solutions will change. But if you see, interestingly, what UPI has done, and if you see a lot of stuff that's happening, even in tier 3, tier 4, you find UPI QRs, people paying through UPI. The other thing is smartphone penetration, Anupam, is an internet penetration, which is one of the big reasons why digital is where digital is in India, and it will continue to grow, is continuing to expand, which means that payments will continue to expand in India. The digital ecosystem will continue to expand. And my belief is in the next sort of 3 to 5 years, this 200 million will easily become 400 million. Solutions, as I said, will evolve. RBI is doing a lot of work from sandbox perspective. They just, I think last year approved 2 players to test offline payments in a sandbox sense. So some of this innovation will come in because, obviously when you go down into tier 3, tier 4, tier 5 of India, people know how to use a phone for calling, but using an app and all is not easy. So as you make life easier for them, payments become easier for them, and the payments ecosystem grows. So that's how I see payments. And if you look at the larger ecosystem, Anupam, I think everybody is eventually sort of going to get into a payments-led financial services platform, because while payments will get you the customers, the value can get generated by financial services. So, and we're seeing many of them getting into that space, and you will see many of us expanding our financial service capabilities.
Yeah. I mean, the entire financialization of, it's broadly called financialization of savings. To me, at least, it's probably one of the most exciting themes in India for the next, 10 or 20 odd years. I mean, you're talking of a population of, even if you leave alone the 135 and you say you look at only 80 or 90, which is probably the working population or the ones that have a bank account or whatever, whichever way you slice and dice. And if you're saying that only 15 to 20 crores have just entered in the last few years, that itself is going to give a lot of room. So I love this topic, Siddharth. Sorry, I'm getting carried away. I would love to talk more about this, but we're going to take a small break out here. When we come back on the other side, folks, we're going to talk about how sitting within Axis has given a lot of strengths, or how that is worked out for Freecharge, and also about a lot of their products, neobanks, pay later, mutual funds, insurance, etc. The entire space. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. My guest, Siddharth Mehta, MD and CEO of Freecharge. And on that note, time to take the credit convenience break. We'll be right back on the other side.
Do check out our new show, Tech Life at Intuit, hosted by Sheila Ditya Mukhopadhyay. Sheila Ditya talked to Anshu Verma, Vice President and Fellow Engineer, and Manish Shah, Distinguished Engineer, Tech Futures at Intuit. They talk about Intuit's employee-powered approach that has won them many accolades and tons more. Catch new episodes of Tech Life at Intuit every Wednesday on the IBM Podcast app, website, or wherever else you get your podcasts from.
And welcome back to this really special episode of Paisa Vaisa. My guest, Siddharth Mehta, MD and CEO at FreeCharge. We're talking about almost all segments that FreeCharge is in. We spoke about fixed deposits and payments on the first part of this break. Let's get to the exciting stuff now. Stuff that that probably is going to grow in the future. So Siddharth, you're probably FreeCharge is probably the only, I don't know whether to call it a startup now, the only entity or startup or whichever way you look at it that actually now sits within one of the largest banks in India. Okay, I have two questions for you. Okay, one is, till now what benefits has that gotten you, and second, I want to then go to neobanks. So present and future. Tell us about that.
Okay. So on the first part, Anupam, it's sort of initially it looks counterintuitive saying you're a fintech or a tech company sitting inside the bank. But when you look at Axis Bank, also it's evolving. There is a lot of technology work happening. So what has happened with FreeCharge and Axis Bank is one, we've been able to cross-funnelize ourselves in terms of technology. So we are also helping Axis Bank in some of the technology initiatives as they build on the long term. For example, this whole buy now pay later is launched on a technology platform which is completely cloud based, and we were part of the building process. And obviously it's an Axis Bank platform, it's powered by Axis Bank, but this was one of the first end-to-end platforms which went onto the cloud with Axis, and we were part of the development process on that. So that now the other side is the advantage that Axis Bank brings to FreeCharge is one is stability, the other is trust. So while I'll talk the business pieces later, but the stability, the trust, the recognition, being India's third largest private sector bank, having high trust value, and also processes and structures in place, which you typically need as you grow an organization. In your initial stages, you might not need, but as you grow, you need processes, policy, structures in place, which Axis helps build in. It's a large organization. It has everything in there. So it's easier for us to learn and implement than to, go out search for such things. On the business side, typically for a fintech, if you want to get into financial services, you need to first reach out to a bank or financial institution, convince them to do business with you. We've launched credit cards, we've launched FDs, we have launched buy now pay later. In a typical sense, I would have had to talk to 10 banks, try to convince them, this is the right product, we should do it. With Axis, I didn't need to do that. It was part of our strategy. We were all aligned. Yes, it has taken us time to build the capabilities, that aside, but we didn't need to go back and convince somebody saying that, you need to do business with FreeCharge. There is a large opportunity. That is what, Axis helps us in, because it's easier for us, to launch products, implement products, test products. As I said, we've tested two-wheeler loans, home loans. Typically, if I would have been going and reaching out to banks, the first question would have been, okay, first tell us, how much business will you do? Then we will decide. And then you can't do tests, because then it's a very different story. That's the advantage that Axis has brought us. We have a co-branded credit card. Frankly, in the tech space, we were the first co-brand credit card with Axis Bank. Again, it was a learning for them. It was a learning for us.
Right.
That way, Axis has brought a lot of advantage to FreeCharge.
Okay.
And
now, before I go into the neobanks part, Siddharth, I'm going to sneak in a question out. Okay.
Yeah.
Probably a tricky question. I have no idea, but startup, bank, culture, totally apart. Okay. You've told us about the benefits that it has gotten in. Do you think that stuff like compliance, bureaucracy, hierarchy, process, this, that, whatnot, probably gets in the way sometimes? You think that's
yes and no, Anupam. So let me put it in this way. One of the things that Axis did, and I'm thankful to them, is that we run this organization separately. The only oversight we have from an Axis perspective is the board overall. So we run it as a separate organization. Yes, compliances and all, but the way I think of it, and I've been in banking for years, you see that you need to ensure that you're in the right side of compliances, because things are evolving. RBI is obviously evolving their digital agenda, and there's a lot of positive things that they're doing, but it is an evolving scenario. And if you're on the right side of compliance, when things change, you don't need to reinvent your business. You are already there. That's the big advantage that this brings in. yeah, sometimes you start thinking, saying that okay, why when others can do this, why can't I do this? But in the long term, I think it's an advantageous thing for us.
Okay.
In the short term, it looks like a little bit of a worry and a frustrating piece, but I think in the long term, I think, and we've seen that.
Okay. Got it. Neobanks. I mean, I want to just set a context out here, man. On the one hand, we talk about payments being a great, in India, and I've had a lot of guests on my show saying this. A lot of people, a lot of my friends also who are in this business, some who even travel a lot come to the from the US. They are just amazed at the technology in payments, and they say that India is probably in large markets, it's the best in the world. Okay, I don't know what's your view, whether you agree or not. At the same time, you got glitches in banking. It is frustrating. We know the news flow that's happened, the way that RBI has dealt with specific issues out here. Setting that context, neobanks, okay, is this going to be something good for customers? Because honestly, banking has hardly seen any disruption in India.
So there is always going to be a difference between what's happening in India and what's happened in the Western world if you compare it. And I'll start with the Western world. If you typically look at it, neobanks, as we call them, typically are financial product platforms. The way I know them, while you can put a good name to it, all of them started with a single product line. Somebody did prepaid cards, somebody did remittances, and so on and so forth. And then they expanded the financial services ecosystem. The advantage, like PSD2 in UK, allowed you to sort of create ecosystems, but eventually a lot of them at the back end are still backed by banking entities. Some, or possibly some of them, because PSD2 is not giving you license to create a bank. It's more giving the sort of the railroads for you to do financial services on your platform with the directive. When I look at India, I think India is a very different world. In India, the platform for you to launch a neobank will always be provided by banks. Banks will be the core technology service providers, if you ask me, in that sense, to you as a platform, and you will be the customer interface. So you will work with banks to create products which are relevant to your customer, and you will manage the customer interface and the engagement. At the back end, the technologies will all be provided by the bank. Yeah, I know there have been incidents and so on and so forth, but I think if you look at compared to most part of the world, I think the banking technology in India has also evolved very fast. Digital capabilities in India on the bank side are also great. Apps are great, servicing is great. I'm not saying it's right there, but I think it is evolved faster. So the digital capabilities of bank, and you can read and think what banks are doing today is really, for example, as I said, Axis Bank, to launch a full lending stack on cloud, the bank could take that call.
Yeah.
It's evolved. So I think the banking ecosystem is evolving. They will be the providers of the railroads for the neobanks, and us as neobanks will be the front end to the customer, helping them sort of open accounts, do stuff, and also manage their relationships. So we will be the engagement layers, the way I look at it. Obviously, I'm assuming over the next few years, RBI will sort of look at digital banking licenses also, like some parts of Asia it has happened, but that is few years down the line, is my view.
Okay, now let's get into pay later. Okay, now the way I see it, and I've had like a lot of guests on pay later on my show, from Simple to Stashwind to Capital Flow, a lot of these players. The one thing that comes out to me is that this has come up because of convenience. No OTP, no applying for a credit card. I have two questions for you. One is that does pay later actually pose a threat to credit cards because of user experience, user interface, whatever you call it? And what's the future of pay later in India? And if you can just add some numbers out here, book size and growth rates, and how you see this evolving.
Okay, so let's look at the first question that you raised, Anupam. So when I look at pay later, see, pay later as a product was designed for medium to small ticket transactions. Typically to do your 200 rupee transaction to plug in your card number, expiry date, OTP is a cumbersome process. The way I look at pay later is it is a product which is defined for the small ticket transaction ecosystem, where you want to make those transactions seamless. And as we see the digital ecosystem evolving, these are transactions which are growing at a rapid pace. If you look at UPI also, and if you talk to NPCI, you'll see that the largest P2M business is all small ticket. That's where UPI is, and that is why this whole see, if you see UPI QR in the SMB space, the digitalization of SMB is all because of UPI QR, and most of them are small ticket transactions. So that's where pay later is going to play. Now the second point, see, credit card penetration in India is low. We all know that compared to the size of the country and the opportunity that is there. So pay later actually fills in that gap to that extent. So I don't see that as a threat. I see it working in tandem because I still believe credit cards people, the mindset of people for using credit card is for the medium to large ticket transactions. Obviously some of them also use it for small ticket because of they feel it's convenient, but for largely it is taken for those kind of transactions. And the small ticket transaction is what pay later will cover. And that is why if you see the pay later lines also, Anupam, they will be between 2,000 to 10,000 rupees. That's the typical spread. Or some guys are also starting from 500 rupees. So that's the spread. So it's typically for high frequency small ticket transactions is what pay later covers for.
Okay.
So I don't see that as a threat. I also see this as a way of getting people on pay later, seeing their behavior and upgrading them to credit cards, because everybody has an aspiration to do the medium to large ticket transaction. So you get the customer in with a small line, see his behavior, see his experience, and then sort of just upgrade him to credit card so that he can again do the large ticket transaction also with you. So that's how we are thinking about pay later.
Okay, where's the book size out here? I mean, just maybe if not for you, then how do you see the industry? I mean, are we talking of a couple of $1 billion, like maybe 7,000 to 14,000 crores, or are we talking of it larger? And what kind of NPA rates do you think are happening out? I mean, they should be minimal, I guess, but what's your guess?
So pay later has two kinds of products. One is the sort of the 30-day credit, 15-day, 30-day credit period, which is sort of works like a card in that sense. You do multiple transactions, you pay at a certain period of time. The other is the EMI product, which is where you can sort of buy a phone at 3-month EMI, 4-month EMI, 6-month EMI. The sort of the 30-day, 15-day product in terms of volume is pretty large. But obviously there's no book size because you're expecting the guy to pay after 15 days or 30 days. So it's a rotation based business. So it's just a cash, as you look at cash flow. So you spend and then you repay, and then you spend and then you repay to that extent. The EMI business, and obviously we have a large NBFC in India proven that it's a big model and it's evolving. I don't have the sort of the large business balance sheet numbers to that extent, but the way I look at it is that in India, I think one of the needs that are coming up is, how do you build affordability? Because there are aspirations. And I think the pay later is actually helping build that gap between the aspiration and the affordability. So there is a large opportunity. Again, thanks to credit card penetration being low, that opportunity multiplies in the country. Large base of customers who don't have credit access can actually start their journey through this.
Very interesting. Let's wrap up on the meat, where I find where at least I believe, I'm sure probably you also have a view on that, is the penetration of savings and investment products into the large, masses of India. You spoke of 15 to 20 crore in the first half of this episode. A, how do you see the size, the scope? B, what are you doing out there?
Okay, so obviously, while in the larger picture we see that there are a lot of players providing financial services, banks are there. Obviously, there are enough with Jan Dhan. There were enough bank accounts opened and all, but we still feel that the complete financial services market, which is savings, investment, insurance, and lending, is still underpenetrated in India. So our view is that if you're able to provide it well on a platform with relevant products, the opportunity is huge, and there will be a lot of players. And as we know, in the banking industry also, so many banks have survived and they continue to grow. I think all of us can continue to grow because of just the size of the market, and the market is just evolving. It's let's look at it this way, that the last 5 to 7 years were all about payments and to some extent consumer lending. In the next 5 years, the consumer lending space is obviously going to explode. But SMB lending, nothing's happened if you see at scale over the last few years. But now I think with the India Stack, the account aggregation, OKEN, I think the SME lending space, which is the other space, Anupam, we are looking at, and we couldn't speak about it earlier, we think is going to explode over the next 10 years. And there's going to be a lot of investing stuff that's happening. That is going to happen in that space.
I just thought that there's a crying need for that, right? Because I know personally of a lot of people who are in the SME space, people who have, and I'm talking MSMEs. Let's not even go into SMEs, which probably have top lines of, 10, 20, 30 crores, but MSMEs who are sub 10 crores. And I've had so many occasions where I hear that something like a working capital loan is at a crazy interest rate, and that's always what I found ironical, man. I get SMSs every day saying that I can get a loan of 1 lakh without any this, without any that. and I don't even need it, right? It's just probably because I have a credit score of what, maybe 700 plus or 750 plus. I'm in that, I'm getting captured by some algorithm somewhere. This guy who runs a business, who depends on that, 10, 12, 15, 18%. I mean, tell me more about that. Yeah. So that, I mean, why
So
do you think
yeah,
SME is going to?
so I think two, three things, Anupam. Earlier, information was disorganized in the SMB space, and I'm talking small and micro. So while you're looking at below 10 crores, I'm saying even if you go further down, a lot of these guys today take money from money lenders at crazy interest rates
2% per month X
because
or something, if not more. Yeah.
it could be worse than that also, as we've
Wow.
heard. But
Yeah.
the thing is that information was not organized. You didn't have enough information to take the call. So on the consumer side, information got built over a period of time. The SMB didn't. But now when I look at the things that are evolving, GST obviously gets a lot of information. Account aggregation, account aggregators coming up. OCEN is getting built up, as a platform. Suddenly there will be explosion in terms of information that is available. And once you have information available, it is easier for you to take a call and underwrite the small and micro. The other issue, Anupam, was that the small and micro needs are not like 5 lakh, 10 lakh, 15, 20 lakh loans. They are looking at 15,000, 20,000, daily working capitals and so on and so forth, which traditional channels could not deliver because of cost of delivery. With
Yep.
digital channels coming in, the cost of delivery can be brought down and you can actually build repeat usage. For example, simple example is, can you do a daily EMI? On traditional channels, you can't do it.
Yeah, you
But
can't.
if I do it with his payments business link, so every day when he transacts, I have to settle the money into his account. I can actually take a piece of that amount and actually pay his EMI on a daily basis, so that at the end of the month he doesn't need to worry saying that, okay, I have to pay 5,000 rupees, where will I get it? So it doesn't impact his working capital. It makes life easier for him, and I think that is where this growth is going to happen. In as I see in volumes, not in value terms, because the loan ticket size will be smaller.
Okay.
Volume terms. Another interesting thing, and obviously, sorry, getting a little
No,
on
no,
the
go
outside
with this.
is,
Go. Take your time, please.
is the ability for these guys to also invest 100 rupees every day. So what we realized when we spoke to a lot of merchants is they don't want to put 10,000 rupees in an FD, 20,000 rupees in an FD. They want to put 100 rupees every day to save. If you're able to solve that, and I think RD is the right product in that sense, is my belief. If you can give them that 100 rupees every day, pull it out of their settlement and push it into an RD, that also helps them. So I think we need to go the whole, the sachet world that FMCG created, which is you start with a sachet and then you upgrade the customer. I think that's going to happen in financial services across the board, from savings to investments. Investments has happened, as you can make investments of less than up to 100 rupees now on mutual funds. Digital gold you can buy for 1 rupee gold. So investments has happened. I think lending also this will happen. So when we look at it, our future is we will sort of be the platform where you can get these sachets. You take the sachets, you sort of use them. If you like them, then you upgrade yourselves on the platform, and eventually we are backed by a bank. Tomorrow you want something which is obviously very different, the bank has the product. The bank can offer it to you directly.
Very interesting. So final question for our listeners, what can they look forward to as a customer, as someone who's listening into this episode of Paisabaisa? What do you have to say to our listeners? What are the 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, I don't know how many things that we can look forward to from Freecharge, in the next 1 year? Let's say that a year later, if I have you back on the show, if I'm lucky enough to have you back on the show, what would that look like going forward?
First, I would be very happy to come a year later again, Anupam, and sort of put down on what we said this year and how much of we've done. But what you will look, so as I said, from Freecharge, what you will see in the next 1 year is this whole buy now, pay later. So currently we've launched this, as I said, this 2,000 to 5,000 rupee ticket size product for our consumers. We will now expand this to an EMI product in this year. So you will also be able to do EMIs. Once I've approved you for a limit, you can also convert it to EMI. So the buy now pay later will get expanded. You will have more ways to spend the buy now pay later. You will see a neo banking coming out of Freecharge from the consumer side in another few months. You will see, and the advantage we will have, and I keep repeating this, I'm sorry, is that we will be a platform where we already have payments, so you can make your bill payment, recharges, merchant payments. You will have a savings account, which we will sort of bring in. Then you'll have all investments, mutual funds. We have gold, FD. We will also add RD, and you will have lending products. So buy now pay later, cards. So we already have a card. We have a small ticket personal loan product. So you will have the whole gamut on the Freecharge platform, to actually choose from. Similarly, on the merchant side, Anupam, what you will see is we've just sort of recently launched a digital car account for individuals. You will see the lending product coming up in the next few months, and eventually a neobank for merchants.
And that's a wrap on this episode of Paisa Vaisa. My guest, Siddharth Mehta, MD and CEO of Freecharge. Hope to have him back after a year. I just, it's not very often, like I said, it's not very often that you get a veteran on the show and we can talk about a lot of stuff at a industry level, kind of a break from regular programming where we talk about concepts and how they work for our listeners. This was more about, one of the most exciting opportunities probably in the world. And that's why you see a lot of startups and VCs coming and funding the startups in this space. And that's the entire, you call it whatever you want, fintech startup, BFSI, financialization of savings. So thank you so much, Siddharth, for doing this for our listeners.
Thank you, Anupam, for having me here again. Thanks a lot.
And here's a cred privilege tip of the week. Read the terms and conditions of your credit card to know all the hidden charges, fees, and levies, and interest rates and stuff. Make sure nothing unexpected hits you in that credit card statement. Listeners, if you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on our social media. We are IVM Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. And if you want to reach out to me, I'm your host, Anupam Gupta, B50 on Twitter. Thank you so much for listening to Paisa Vaisa.
No material on the show should be considered as financial advice. The material on the show is for informational purposes only. Please consult a financial advisor before taking any investment decision.
IVM